there. How we doing, guys? Welcome back to the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Richie, and as promised, I am back with my guy, Mr. Mike Zappy. We are going to be diving into the entire slate of tomorrow's action. If you haven't already, definitely check out the previous video I dropped earlier today about the two Saturday games. One of them, as you can see, is getting warmed up behind me. The Raiders hosting the Chiefs. Very eventful. Probably the most eventful week of the NFL season, despite there not being a Thursday game. And that goes without saying, of course, what went down in the Cincinnati and Buffalo Bills game. We all know, unless you live under a rock, what happened with Damar Hamlin. Very phenomenal news, given how grave the situation was and how scary everything was going into the situation. Just, it looked like he may have died on the field. Very thankful that no neurological damage. He's talking. He was able to stream with his team during one of their meetings, as well as some of his former teammates who currently play around the league. But yeah, a tragic situation was diverted by just great work from the medical teams, and they are the true heroes of this situation. But, as they say, the games do go on. This game will not be replayed, but it has left a bit of a mess in the AFC. A neutral site for the AFC title game, should the Chiefs, Bills, or Cincinnati Bengals play, is on the table. Well, it's passed through the table. It's been accepted. And there is also a situation now where the Cincinnati Bengals are rather furious because although they are the division champions, should they lose to the Baltimore Ravens tomorrow, it will come down to a coin toss as to who would get home field for their next meeting. It is a very wacky situation. Zappy, what are your thoughts on all this?
I mean, I feel bad for Cincinnati more than I feel bad for Buffalo and Kansas City. They're a team that already defeated Kansas City this year, looked like they had their minds in the right place on Monday night and were going to defeat Buffalo. And, an unfortunate situation took place that caused the game to be postponed and eventually canceled. I like the concept behind the AFC title game, with it being at a neutral site. However, I don't like the fact that if Cincinnati loses tomorrow, that they could still end up being the road team. And it defeats the purpose of winning your division, because you win your division to get at least one home game, possibly more if there's upsets in the process.
I highly doubt that they're going to lose to the Ravens, and we'll touch on that shortly. And you did make mention how they had their heads on prior to the tragic situation with Damar Hamlin, as we said. Thank God he's okay. But I think the thing that leaves a bad taste in my mouth with all of this is I just don't like the whole neutral field thing. I think in a situation what happened on Monday, while there are no winners in that situation, I think it would have been right for Buffalo to take the loss, given that they were losing the actual game. It wasn't like it was 8 minutes in and the game was tied. So for there to not be a continuation of the game, but for the game to not even count, it's almost like a baseball game that got rained out in the third. It's almost like before 5 innings. That's kind of how it feels, and it's weird. And, quite frankly, I think the team that has the most to lose is the team playing behind us in a little while, the Kansas City Chiefs, because of the fact that I don't think they have the horses nor the talent on the roster that Cincinnati nor Buffalo do. So I don't necessarily believe that it would matter if the title game was in Kansas City. Had this not happened and everything kind of got mangled, so to speak. But no, the Bengals, even though that it's weird. Like you have certain things in seasons that can kind of rupture momentum. It can be a bad play, it could be a bad call, it could just be some bad luck. Um, in this case, I'm going to call it bad luck because while it's obvious that neither team wanted to play the game for obvious reasons, I do think that looking back at it, both these organizations, maybe not this year, but maybe down the road, just looking at the big picture of it, might have felt like maybe we should have played the game Thursday or Wednesday or just gotten it in before the week was over. Not an easy thing to do by any means, and not diluting the seriousness of what happened. But I do think that this has definitely made a mess in terms of the playoff seeding. But it will be unprecedented and it will be interesting. Indy is out as a host, as is Detroit for that venue, should any combination of those three teams meet. Soldier Field's on the table, which would kind of keep the same elements if it were in Buffalo, Cincy, or KC. So, it's going to be interesting. And the Bills host the Patriots this week, and this is essentially an elimination game for the Patriots. They currently hold the 7th seed in the AFC. This is the first time that Buffalo's obviously playing since Hamlin had the heart attack on the field. And as I just stated, their game was ruled a no contest. What would you say are the keys to victory for the Patriots to pull off a monumental upset?
Contain Josh Allen, stop the running game, stop Stephon Diggs. You're going to have to win the line of scrimmage to be able to run the ball with Stevenson. There's too many key things they need to do in order to win this game. I'm not going to discredit Belichick and his remarkable coaching career, but we already saw earlier this year when Buffalo went to New England how they made the Patriots look, and now we're talking about a very motivated football team going out there to play for DeMar Hamlin, so.
And that's what I meant about momentum. Like, there's nothing good about your brother on the field having that kind of serious thing that could have took his life. Fortunately, he's coming out of it, gradually getting better day by day. But this is one of those momentum-grabbing situations that can literally put a team over the top. And to your point, I think that's what's going on and what is the rally cry in Buffalo right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't want to be the Patriots this week. I put it to you like that.
Oh no, I definitely would not want to be the Patriots this week. I mean, you're going to need a perfect game from one Mac Jones. The Bills secondary is still healthy. I mean, they're healthier than when the season started, even with the loss of DeMar Hamlin. But to rely on Mac Jones's arm to the receiving core that is not really much of a core, they're gonna have to slow the game down. They cannot get into a shootout with this team. They'll lose all day. If they can slow this game down and make it a 24-20 type game, then yeah, they have an opportunity to win the game because we already saw what happened with the Bengals. They got off to a quick start, and then the Patriots climbed back into it and only lost by 4. I don't think that happens.
Yeah, which leads us to that situation in the Raven-Bengal game, which we'll hit on momentarily. You gotta limit Josh Allen to third and not so manageable. Easier said than done. If Stephon Diggs is going to destroy you, you got to make sure that he's not hurting you elsewhere on that field. On offense, the Patriots need to be able to run the ball well and to use both running backs to basically be the focal point of their offense. Speaking about Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris, I just don't see a scenario where the Patriots come away with a win. I think the Patriots' way into the playoffs is going to have to be with getting help. Because if they lose and a couple of teams that they need to lose, they should be able to back in. And the only thing that would divert that from happening were if the Jacksonville Jaguars were to lose tonight, because they would have precedent over that last wild card if all that stuff broke that way. But as the final for me, I'm going Buffalo 38, New England 17. I think this is going to be quite the beating.
Yeah, I have a very similar score, actually. I have 37-17. As far as the Patriots, the one saying, you don't go out there and rely on other teams to get you in the playoffs. You go out there and do your job.
And this is
That's
where
Bill
that Raider
Belichick saying.
game. This is where that Raider game comes back to bite. This is where the Bengal game you mentioned, Stevenson fumbled on a potential go-ahead drive inside the red zone. So, these are the kind of plays in a season, we talked about momentum, that change everything. Patriots got a feel-good win last week against division rival Miami, but this is going to be quite the task, and one that I just don't think the Patriots are going to be up for. Moving it along to the aforementioned Bengals, they're hosting their division rivals, the Ravens. The Ravens won the first game. They're going for a season sweep. You had to explain this to me off air because this was very confusing. For the viewers, Lamar Jackson once again will not be playing. So yes, the Bills and Bengals, one less game played than the rest of the league, as you can see on the ticker below. What is really weird about this is even though the Bengals will have a better record should they lose, this comes down to that coin flip because of the fact, and you explained it to me, that the game never got played, and then there's that what if variable if the Bills would have beat the Bengals. It's really wacky to me. The whole situation just really wacky. Fortunately for the Cincinnati faithful, I don't think they have much to worry about because the Ravens offense was already a mess with Lamar. Without Lamar, they're almost helpless. We've seen it quite a few times already. Last week was a great example how they weren't able to put away Pittsburgh. That's why that Buffalo New England game is important for Pittsburgh too. They're on the heels. They have a chance, as does Miami playing the Jets. But yeah, I don't really see a scenario here where the Ravens go on the road, win this. And what makes it even worse is that the Ravens are going to have to play in the stadium 2 weeks in a row because they're going to get beat. I got the Bengals winning this with relative ease. I'm going Cincinnati 34, Baltimore 17.
Yeah, we were just saying how Buffalo is one of those teams now you don't want to face because of what this team has just overcome over the last few days. Hopefully the things continue to stay positive for DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah, all indications look like they're trending upward. They're going to be responsible. They're going to take their time, as they should.
They should, absolutely. And as far as the Bengals go, this is another one of those teams that not only have they been playing really good football for the last 9 weeks or so, now you have the outcome of Monday Night Football and how this whole scenario thing has really screwed them the most. And they have really voiced their displeasure about it, that they can go out there, still have a better record percentage-wise than Baltimore, but win the division, but could possibly be on the road for the wild card game. They're going to come out there tomorrow. And they're going to win a football game. It's that simple.
Yeah, and the fact that they're so pissed off with the NFL, just like I said on the previous game, I don't want to be the Patriots. I also wouldn't want to be the Ravens this week. I think the Ravens are kind of like dead team walking, I should say, in the sense that they're not better than this Bengals team, and they're going to have to look at them 2 games in a row. And the only positive for the Ravens is that maybe Lamar Jackson will be able to start the playoff game and give them a puncher's chance. Either way, I like Cincinnati in this game, and I liked them the week after as well when they play them twice. I've seen a regression in Baltimore over the course of the year, whereas the Bengals have been trending upward. But, we'll see how the Bengals respond because, as I alluded to momentum, they definitely lost a bit of it, and it's nobody's fault. It was a situation that could have happened to anyone. Unfortunately, it affects 3 excellent football teams, actually. So it's unfortunate. But the best team will win. The teams that are supposed to win will win in the playoffs. And as far as like the whole venue thing goes, who's supposed to win is going to win. Buffalo's proven they can beat Kansas City already in KC. Bengals did it last year. I don't think home field really matters at this juncture of what these teams are doing right now with the familiarity they all kind of have with each other. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because the Chiefs, for the most part, have Buffalo's number. It seems that the Bengals have the Chiefs'
Both their
number.
numbers.
Potentially. Yeah, we're going to find out.
Yeah. I like this Bengals team. I've been hot on them for a long time, even when we were having our discussions about who would win the division, Baltimore, Cincinnati, and I was always sold on them because the way they lost their games early on, easy little fixes. Now this offense is looking like the offense we were expecting, or at least I was expecting. Their defense is playing better football. They're going to win this game. Yeah, I'm going very similar score as well, 34-13 actually. But it's just Joe Burrow's going to go out there, do what he needs to do, get off to an early lead so they can rest their starters at least in the second half.
Yeah, I think that's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
This is going to be quite the quarterback matchup here. Joe Flacco making the start for the New York Jets, trying to spoil the season for the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins will be going with Skylar Thompson from K-State. This game could truly go either way. Both these teams have issues right now. In Miami's case, obviously, they're missing their quarterback who was having a hell of a year. Some would even consider it an MVP caliber year if you take away all the games missed. Jets eliminated from playoff contention, but there have been positives this year. They are a 7-win team. They have lost some important faces along the way. One mainly running back Breece Hall out for the year earlier in the year. That was a huge loss for them. They have a candidate for defensive rookie of the year in Sauce Gardner. He's had a hell of a year. And the Jets did meet our preseason prediction collectively that we both said they'd win 7 games. Miami has also got other issues they're dealing with the concussion protocols that we have hit on previous shows. Mike McDaniel is already on the hot seat. Should they not make the playoffs, we all know that there is some of that does have to do with the situation regarding the concussions. As far as this game goes, I'm going to take Miami in a close one. I've been teetering back and forth about who I thought was going to win this football game. But I'm going to take Miami for the sheer fact that I just think they have a little more, I guess you could just say, a little more credibility at the quarterback position. Joe Flacco has not looked good when he's been in there. Bottom line, he looks like a man that holds the clipboard for a reason. He is valuable to teams because he is a good leader, a great teammate, and a good teacher of the game. I think he'll be a great coach one day, should he choose that path. But, yeah, I got the Dolphins winning this thing. I'm going to go 26-20. I think the Jets will hang around. But in the end, Dolphins win, and I think that will propel the Dolphins into that 7 spot.
I am actually going a different direction on this one. We're talking about a tale of two teams. Both teams started off really well, and both teams have actually gone opposite the directions. And the reason why I don't like Miami is I don't know if this team is going to respond to Mike McDaniel, especially with Tua having another concussion that seemed to be ignored, which answered a lot of questions because that game against the Packers, I know what hit it was that got him that concussion, but then all of a sudden his overthrows were just embarrassing.
Yeah, you could. It made me feel like the kid was seeing double.
Yeah, and things like that don't bode well. And now you're talking about this Miami Dolphins team that if they lose the possibility of firing Mike McDaniel, I think it's a move that needs to happen. I just don't stand by this organization, especially Mike McDaniel, and how he has handled Tua from the very first concussion. As far as this Jets team, what I like about them is they play for Robert Saleh, no matter who the quarterback is, and they have a very good defense. And when you're talking about Skylar Thompson going in to start versus that defense, yeah, Hill might get his, but they're going to have Sauce Gardner following Hill, and that's going to be an exciting matchup, in my opinion. I like Joe Flacco. I mean, he's got the resume. He's just an older quarterback, but you don't need to go out there and ask him to make 30 throws in the game.
My worry
to manage.
my worry and my reasoning why I don't think the Jets win this game. Yeah, you make a point. They have played well for Salah this year, but over the course of the last 2 weeks, their offense has been pretty much non-existent, and I'm not convinced that this is the week or the way that they refined it. I mean, these are two very imperfect teams with a lot of issues right now. It, I think it's safe to say that both these guys might have new quarterbacks under center, given Tua's potential early retirement. I would have to think his family might want him to explore that. And as the Jets go, the Zach Wilson experiment has not worked. So I do think that they may be in the market for a Lamar Jackson or someone in that neighborhood. Time will tell that. I mean, even Derek Carr's out there. We'll see. Um, but
Yeah, I I don't think Derek Carr will go to the Jets
no,
personally.
I
He
don't think
doesn't.
so either. But I think the Jets would take anybody over their current situation, which could leave the door open for something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree there. There's just a lot of aspects. I mean, we could talk about tonight's game. You already covered it in an earlier show. Jaguars win, then the Dolphins are pretty much playing for nothing. Oh, I'm sorry. If the Jaguars lose, then the Dolphins are playing for nothing. It would be irrelevant at this point. I'm taking the Jets, close one, 20-17. I think both offenses are going to struggle, but I think the Jets will make that key interception to set themselves up for the victory in this game.
Well, if your prediction is right, that would keep these guys alive. The Pittsburgh Steelers. They can clinch the 7 seed with a win and a Patriots and Dolphins loss. Also on the line is Tomlin's career streak of always finishing above 500 or at 500. Um, so the Browns showed me something last week, not really having a reason to play, but ending the Washington Commanders season. And I think that when it comes to this game, it's going to be a similar outlook. They want to stick it to a division rival who has been much more successful than they have. They've already got that monkey off their back going back to the 2020 season when they did defeat these guys in then still called Heinz Field. They put a beating on them in front of their home faithful. Keys to victory for each team: they got to run the ball. Both of these teams got to be able to run the ball and open up the passing game for their quarterbacks. The reason why I like the Browns in this game is because they have the better quarterback, and I think they've got more functionality on their O-line right now as opposed to Pittsburgh. I like the Browns getting out of here with a close victory. I'm going 23-20 Browns.
Very similar score, actually. Very similar score to mine. I also have it 23-20. However, I have it the other way around. I like the way Pittsburgh has been playing as of late. Their defense is the reason why they've been winning these games. They're keeping their team in it where if you give them that opportunity to go score a late touchdown to win, they're going to take it. Also, I look at what happened this week with the Browns and the whole Jadeveon Clowney situation and being sent home because he's voicing his opinion about this team sets up Myles Garrett for success, this and that. Myles Garrett's the better athlete, Jadeveon. You've had years and years to prove your worth as the number one pick, and you've never done it.
And Myles
And
Garrett was a franchise cornerstone, whereas Clowney was a one-year contract guy.
yeah,
So
exactly. And he was drafted to be that cornerstone player, but everyone fell in love with one play while he was at South Carolina, and it was in that bowl game against Michigan.
he reminds me a lot from at a peak athleticism level of a LeVar Arrington. But LeVar Arrington had a better career, but the thing they have in common is the injuries that have both reduced their careers. Arrington, I think, had a lot of time left before that final injury with the Giants, but things happen. So we both have it ending close. We'll see how it plays. Next is going to be the Vikings visiting the Bears. Zappy, I'm going to have you open this because I'm going to refill my drink. I will be right back, but feel free to open this one.
The Vikings versus the Bears. I mean, this game means absolutely nothing to the Minnesota Vikings. We already know for a fact that the top two seeds are going to be between Philadelphia, the 49ers, and the Dallas Cowboys. The Vikings would need all three teams to lose and then some more help. So I don't see the Vikings really playing their starters very much. And as far as the Bears team go, we're talking about a team that is in prime position for the number 2 pick, where they can go out there and draft their Will Anderson and get their cornerstone on the defensive side of the ball. So ultimately, I think it's going to come down to Minnesota winning this game because they need to rebuild some sort of momentum going into the playoffs. Whether it's their second team or their starters, they just need that W to give them a positive mindset. Chicago will play a good game. They'll run the ball as we've grown accustomed to seeing with them. But ultimately, I think Minnesota wins. Chicago secures their spot as the number 2 seed in the NFL draft and go from there.
Now,
So,
correct me if I'm wrong. Justin Fields isn't playing in this one, right?
that's from my understanding, yes, that he's
And
not playing.
my other question, because when I walked away, I heard you make mention that outside of the momentum factor, this doesn't mean anything to Minnesota. Did you mean that in the sense that they can't regain the 2 seed should the Niners lose?
Correct, because they would, if the Niners lose, I believe they would have. I'm going to verify it real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to wait on that because if that's the case, that's a mistake on my part. Because
Right,
I was of the understanding that if that happened, they would jump back into the 2.
yeah. So okay, let me eat my words on that one. All right. So if the 49ers do lose and the Vikings win, they can overtake that 2 seed. But then it also goes into what happens between Philly and Dallas. So yeah. So the Vikings starters will definitely play. I apologize for the
Oh
misunderstanding on
no,
my
I
part.
myself was not sure once I heard you say that, but the
I was thinking
reality
that
is
they had
it would
5
be
losses.
it would be very unlikely that the Niners lose given their situation. Uh, I don't see it happening. I mean, it could. I just don't see it. As far as this game goes, I don't see the Bears really competing because I don't think they're going to be able to do much on offense without their starting quarterback. I don't feel confident about that at all. And
No.
I think this is a tune-up, feel-good game for the Vikings before they play more than likely my New York Giants in round 1. I think that's how that plays. I think the 49ers will be right where they are at number 2.
It'd be it'd be something amazing to see the Eagles lose, the 49ers lose, the Cowboys win, and the Vikings win. And we're talking about the Cowboys and Vikings as the 1 and 2 seeds,
Yeah, that
49ers
would
as
be.
a 3 seed. I mean, that would.
Yeah,
There's so much that needs to happen in the NFC for things to just get out
yeah.
of
There's a lot of
control.
reaches, and my team doesn't appear that they're going to be helping you much with that. We're going to talk about that momentarily. Before we do, these were some of the other picks, less notables. I got the Colts winning a close one against the Texans, Saints over the Panthers. I got the Falcons beating a Bucks team that'll be resting. I got the Broncos beating a Chargers team that'll be resting. I got the Seahawks by 7 over the Rams, and I've got the Niners by 20 over the Cardinals.
So for out of those picks, the one game that I'm going to say is going to be a little differently would be the Seahawks game. I think the Seahawks will go out there and take it to the Rams because they're still in position to make the playoffs. So, or if I'm correct, or are they eliminated as
No,
well?
no, they're currently in 7.
Yeah,
They need Green Bay to get beat.
correct. So they still have to go out there and win the game. The
Yeah, they
Rams are not
need.
playing for anything. I mean, Baker Mayfield's playing for possibly another chance
That's part
at.
of the reason why I think that stays competitive, and also with the reemergence somewhat of the Rams' running game, and with it not really being much of a secret that Seattle has struggled this season, especially as of late, to stop the run. That's part of the reason why I think this game's going to be close. Oddly enough, and I'm not going to blame Matthew Stafford for this because there was all kinds of issues going on. But I must say, in the limited time that Baker Mayfield has been under center, they look like a better team with Baker Mayfield than they did with Matthew Stafford. Now, granted, it's not really that fair because this is the only situation that Mayfield would even be on this team was this team being in the toilet. As we alluded to on the previous show, they are literally the worst defending champion because they have 11 losses. That has never happened before from a defending Super Bowl champion.
And
Um,
as much as I want to take the Texans to win this game because right now I feel like the Colts are a little more in shambles than the Texans are. I just can't see the Texans going out there winning and costing themselves
No,
the number one pick. I just
they
can't,
won't.
especially if Lovie Smith is returning as the head coach. But
Even
I
if they
won't be
won, though,
surprised.
even if they won, I don't believe they would be able to blow that because wouldn't
Yeah, they
aren't the
would.
Bears? Don't the
They
Bears
would
have three
blow it.
wins?
Yeah, and that would give the Texans 3 wins,
Oh,
but the Texans have that tie.
lay
So
down.
therefore, we go to Chicago. So there's some merit to actually the Texans going out there and losing. I have a feeling they're going to go out there and win this game. I don't know why. I just think the Colts, with the whole Jeff Saturday situation, their offensive line has not been playing up to par. Jonathan Taylor hasn't been playing very much this year. Their defense has not been good. Houston has had a lot more positive things happen to him this year. I think the Texans win this game 20-17. And I correct me if I'm wrong. This is the team they tied earlier this year.
Yeah, they did.
So I'm taking Houston, and I'm taking Houston to screw themselves out of the one seed. But the one thing that helps them out is the Bears don't need a quarterback. But what the Bears could do is trade back.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting if the Bears got the one pick. I just don't see the value in why the Texans would want to win this game, but we'll see. We've got your Cowboys traveling to the recently eliminated um, Washington Commanders. Head coach Ron Rivera wasn't aware that they were eliminated. He probably should have asked, I don't know, some of his players or some of his fans, maybe.
Should have asked Dan Snyder.
I don't think they're exactly kicking it lately. I don't think too many people are kicking it with Snidey. But as the Cowboys go, they have an outside shot to win the NFC East and ultimately end up at the 2. Um, it would require the New York Giants to win. We're going to speak on that momentarily. Um, this is how I see this game going. I think the Commanders are going to play hard because it is the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are going to do enough to play well enough in the first half because they do want this game. But in the end, I would go Dallas probably by 7. Uh, I just can't believe Ron Rivera's decision to put in Wentz after Heineke put you in a position to turn your season around. I think this is Ron Rivera's last game as the head coach of the Washington Commanders. You cannot not know that you're not in the playoffs if you lose the game. It's like mind-boggling to think that that could happen at this level. The Dallas Cowboys, this is a tune-up on a lot of levels. I wouldn't say that they're going to go all the way in, but they're going to try to get the most out of their starters for as long as they could because, you need that positive momentum, especially if you're playing against Tom Brady because no matter what, the man does have that many rings and he has never lost to the Dallas Cowboys, but that is looking like the first round collision for you will be in Tampa. Uh, yeah, I got the Cowboys winning by 7. I'm going 24-17.
So this is a game where Dallas is going to come out. I think they're going to come out fast and keep it going early, and they're going to be scoreboard watching. If they see the Eagles are up 14-0, 14-3, 17-3 type score, 24-10, then Dallas might just pull their starters knowing that Philly's going to win that game. However, the Giants come out and keep the game close the entire game. I believe the Cowboys offense will stay on the field and
Yeah,
their
yeah.
defense.
It is going to be predicated off of that. Yeah, that's going to be a thing.
And the other thing Dallas is playing for, while it's something that most people wouldn't consider as something to do, is they're only percentage points behind Kansas City as the number one scoring offense in the NFL. And this is after this team was only averaging about 22 points a game while Dak Prescott was out. It reinsert Dak Prescott, and this team has been the best offense in the NFL. Um, I think they're going to go out there, and I think they're going to put it to Washington, and it's going to be the send off for Ron Rivera. This team, and then they're back to Heineke, but they're going to be playing Sam Howell as well, and that we're talking about a rookie quarterback going in there against this defense. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
seen other cases where Dallas was playing an unknown quarterback, and it didn't I mean, they came out with victorious, but it seemed to
Yeah,
be.
because I mean, if you guys can't gain ground on the Eagles, I still feel more comfortable with Cooper Rush coming back in the fold for the second half than I do with a rookie, because I think that's exactly what's going to happen: a rookie versus Cooper Rush in the second half.
Yeah, and I think Dallas keeps their starters out there late. I think it'll be up until the fourth quarter because I really do think the Giants Eagles game is going to be a lot closer than people think. I think that game is going to be based on how they start. If they keep themselves in and get off to an early lead and maintain a lead or a close game, then I believe the Giants starters remain out there. Um, but yeah, I'm taking Dallas to win this one pretty handily, 40-19. I just don't like Washington right now. I think that team is lost the way the quarterback situation, I thought it was going to backfire on them, and it more than backfired, especially when your coach doesn't know that, oh,
Yeah,
we lose this game.
the whole situation on so many levels is so asinine. And when you think about all the ridiculous crap that's been going on upstairs, you would think that the voice of reason and the brain of reason would be Ron Rivera in this situation. A guy who I've always admired, but he really dropped the ball here. My New York Giants heading to Philly, as you stated. You need the Giants to win that division, and along with your
No,
win.
we don't need the Giants to win. First of all, let me say one thing. We need the 49ers and Giants, or the 49ers and Eagles to lose. I don't want that 2 seed. I don't want that 2 seed. I don't not want to face Green Bay in the wild card round. But anyways.
Well, I don't think you're going to have to worry about that because Tyrod Taylor's getting the start. Saquon Barkley's not dressing. Neither is Daniel Jones. So I don't see the close game that you are seeing. The reason why it could remain close, Leonard Williams is also not suiting up. Neither is Azeez Ojulari. It's tough for me to co-sign this because I do want to beat this team. But at the same time, I understand the reasoning. The Giants have nothing to gain from this. And, you just said something. You don't want to see the Packers. Maybe the Giants want the Eagles to see the Packers. That crossed my mind here too. Because that essentially is what could happen in round 2. Should the Packers get in and handle business against the Niners? I'm going to let you know what I think about that possibility shortly. But as the game goes, you're going to compete. But I just don't. I said this going in. There's 2 things that Brian Dable's job is to do going into the week before the playoffs. You want to keep the morale high, and you want to keep the team healthy. By keeping the team healthy, you're doing the moves that you're doing. Benching your quarterback, benching your ace running back, benching one of your best young pass rushers, benching one of your best lead veterans in Leonard Williams, who is dealing with a very painful injury and intends on playing through the playoffs with it. On the flip side of it, you're also protecting the morale because if you march your starters out there and they get their doors blown off by a team that embarrassed them, the one true beatdown the Giants have experienced this year was to the Philadelphia Eagles. It doesn't set you up all that well going into the first week of the playoffs from a morale standpoint. And I do think that had something to do with this decision too. But I do think health is the overlying reason why you're seeing Tyrod in there. As the Eagles go, Hurts is not 100%. And if he comes out rusty, this and that, yes, they could find themselves in a dogfight that they don't want to be in. Because when you start backups, it brings opportunities that normally aren't there. And dare I say, even a guy like Kenny Golladay might catch a couple of balls in this game.
He's going to go off.
I don't know.
79 catches.
Yeah, get that bonus. He only needs 79 catches. Oh, my. I'd be happy if he got 7 to 9 catches. I got the Eagles winning this thing. I'm going to go 27-17. I think it's going to be a conservative victory for the Eagles. 27-17 Eagles. I'm not going to take much from this loss other than knowing that is healthy. Should the Giants keep the score closer than that, they should feel pretty good about themselves. Last game of the week, Sunday night game. We got the Lions traveling to Lambeau. Packers get the 7 with a win. Lions get the 7 with a win and a Seahawks loss. Packers are one of the hottest teams in the league on a 4-game winning streak. You said it off air. They look like the Packer team right now that we expected. A very dangerous team right now. They're running the ball well with the two-headed monster of Dillon and Jones. Aaron Rodgers is seeing the field better than he has all year, and his receivers, his young kids, are stepping up, and he's really getting something good going with Christian Watson. Because of the progression of these receivers, I actually believe that Aaron Rodgers is staying put in Green Bay this year and further. I think the Packers, what they're going to do here is going to be something similar to what you saw against the Vikings. I don't think they're going to beat the Lions nearly as bad because I actually think the Lions could potentially be a better team than the Vikings. When you look at the Vikings, they have given up more points this year than they have scored. And to have the record they have is kind of remarkable. Quentin and I, at different junctures on the show, have called them paper tigers. I feel confident about saying that. This is the team that I want to play in round one, the Vikings. Yeah, Packers, I got them winning this thing. I'm going 34-24. I think the Lions are going to hang around. 34-24 Packers, solidifying the 7 seed.
Yeah, this Packers team is – they're doing exactly what I thought. I mean, I did not think they would win the division, but I thought they were going to make a run late, get into the playoffs, en route to the Super Bowl. I think they're a team that could easily go into San Francisco again and Philadelphia again and win this time as opposed to lose like they did the first time. I like their offense right now and their defense. I mean, you thought when they lost Rashawn Gary, or we thought that the loss of Rashawn Gary was going to hurt their pass rush. It hasn't skipped a beat. Their pass rush has been phenomenal as of late. There's Jair Alexander is playing out of control. He is shutting down number one receivers.
But when you shut down Justin Jefferson like that, and I said this to a good friend of the show, John Olson, who's a huge Packer fan. I feel that Jair Alexander, for whatever reason, doesn't get looped when they talk about the best corners in the game. I don't know if it's because of the East Coast bias, small market Green Bay thing. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't get the credit he deserves. But it's nice to see that defense put a full game together because they're going to need to play at that level to hang around. And then when I think about looking ahead, should they win, they will be playing the Niners. It's a role reversal from last year because last year the Packers were the 1 seed, the Niners were the 6 or the 7. Were they? Yeah, they were the 7 or the 6. They were a lower seeded team is the point. And they got hot, ultimately went to the NFC title game. But right now it's the other way around. Green Bay's super overdue to beat this team. And I think the other stat that most people wouldn't like is that this kid Brock Purdy has not tasted defeat yet. And that could be a really tough way to experience his first defeat in a playoff game. And I'll be honest, I have a feeling that's exactly how it's going to play out. We, of course, are going to preview the playoff brackets once they become available and once all this stuff gets sorted out. One thing that I did want to say before we get out of here, we're going to be doing a show on our rankings of the 10 greatest franchises in the history of the league, and we're talking about from the league's inception to the present day, kind of take the body of work pre-merger, post-merger for teams that it applies to, and a lot of different reasonings as to why we rank these great franchises where we do. So keep an eye out for that in the near future. Looking forward to the playoffs. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going to do a backflip tomorrow because I'll be honest, tomorrow feels like it's going to be a preseason game. And I'm a little disappointed. I wanted to see our starters against the Eagles and see if we can ruin their day. But when I think about the big picture pertaining to my team, I think it's the responsible way to go about it.
Well, the one thing I'll say, I didn't get to hit on this, the Eagles are missing a lot of starters on the defensive side. Jalen Hurts might come out rusty. Tyrod Taylor is a quarterback that can win that game. Not having Saquon, that does hurt. I wasn't aware that him and Daniel were not.
Yeah, they're going to roll with Brightwell and Breida.
But is Xavier McKinney and Adoree Jackson back?
McKinney played last week.
Or was he playing tomorrow is what I mean. And is Adoree back this week?
I would imagine that they're going to bring Adoree back. He has to come back before the playoffs just for getting some reps. So, yes, I do believe he's available tomorrow. McKinney, I don't see why McKinney wouldn't play, given how much time he's missed. Defensively, those are the two guys that are not going to be seen tomorrow. Are going to be Azeez Ojulari, which I agree with. I think that's the right play. And Leonard Williams, yeah, in a game that doesn't count for the Giants, yes, I think that's responsible because we're going to need him for the playoffs.
I didn't get to say it. I think the Giants win this game, even with the Tyrod Taylor.
I hope you're right, but I don't see it.
I think they do. And then I think the 49ers are going to struggle today for a little bit, and because they need that loss for Brock Purdy before the playoffs. They don't want to give him his first loss.
I got a little stat for you. Since Daniel Jones became the starter of the New York Giants, how many games do you think we've won without Jones?
Without Jones? I don't think you guys have won a game without Jones.
Grand total of two. Okay. Eli Manning's final career game. And the other one,
I don't count that game.
The other was Colt McCoy against the Seattle Seahawks.
Two, okay.
Those are your two victories without Daniel Jones.
Well, Mr. Virginia Tech alum is going to go out there and get that W for you guys. Everything says the Eagles should go out there and win 41-17, but I just don't trust bringing Jalen Hurts out there. I don't think the Eagles put up 41 on us like in the first game because we're healthier now. Exactly.
And the other thing is they're not playing well. So, no, I don't think any of those – anything remotely close to that happens. I give them the 10-point lead just for the sheer fact that we're not starting our Pro Bowl running back or our quarterback who's having a career best season. That's why we don't win this game. I mean, I'd love to see Tyrod do it. I just don't think he will.
No, I understand that. They don't have Miles Sanders either by the looks of it.
So yeah, but behind that line – we'll see.
They don't have Lane Johnson.
It'll be interesting.
Johnson. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be I think it'll be the afternoon game to watch. Obviously, I'll be watching my Cowboys, but I'll be paying close attention to that game as well. And I think that's going to be the most exciting afternoon game, honestly. The 49ers-Cardinals game, I mean, we're talking about the Cardinals on their fourth quarterback, missing so many players on their offensive side. No DeAndre, no James Conner. Defensively, they're missing players. It's JJ Watt's bye-bye game.
That's like literally the only reason why we didn't even bring that up. I put that in the non-notables.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I'm taking Giants for the upset, 24-20. I just have this feeling inside of me.
I hope you're right.
To happen.
I don't share your sentiments. I'm more worried about just getting to the playoffs healthy and rocking Minnesota. Because we let them off the hook the first time.
I will also say, one last thing. I will also say, I didn't get to be on earlier today. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to go into Las Vegas and lose this game. It's going to set up an even more important matchup for the Buffalo Bills tomorrow. And I think the Jaguars will come out as the AFC South champs tonight and be hosting the playoff game. Who thought we would be saying that before the year started?
Oh, well, there's one thing I remembered that I do want to say. We've talked about it so much off air that I think we forgot to mention it here. We were talking frequently about our epic fantasy championship, and it was kind of crazy how it went down. So we all know what happened in the Buffalo game. We were trying to figure out what was going to be the resolution, if the game was going to continue, if it wasn't, whatever have you. The NFL chose not to replay the game. So originally, Zappy during that evening was beating me 101 point something to 98 point something, 99 point something, something like that. So for 48 hours, Zappy was recognized as our league champion. Then they wiped the stats away. Now I'm currently recognized as the league champion. So what we've decided to do, Zappy and I, is we are going to split the earnings for first and second. And we have told our commissioner that we want to be co-champions because, quite frankly, an amazing fantasy season was cheated because it would have been great to see how that night would have played out. Obviously, life takes precedent over fantasy football and over real football, for that matter, as it should. But that's what the conclusion was. So King Richard is recognized in Yahoo as the champion, but in our eyes, we're the co-champions, and that's the way that we intend on approaching next season. So we are essentially both going to be grabbing a trophy. Until next time, I am Richie. He is Zappy. Zappy, get on those halls, man. I was getting over the flu. Sounds like you got a touch of it, and enjoy the games, man. That's why I'm home today. That's why I've been home all week. I was getting over the flu. And that's also the reason why you guys haven't seen my mug on these shows lately, because I can't remember the last time I went 5 days or 6 days in between a show.
It was that, and it was also paying respect towards the Damar Hamlin. And
well, yeah, for sure, because I saw a lot of podcasts, and I'm not judging anybody. But I did see a lot of pods going live and all this other stuff. And quite frankly, I love getting views and I love people watching these shows, but that was not the night that I was looking to cash in, because the only thing that was on my mind was that young man's mother, who was terrified, as well as his brothers on the field. And I am so very thankful for the people who helped save his life. And I do want to make a shout out. Definitely in my thoughts is Peyton Hillis, a former New York Giant. As they say, once a Giant, always a Giant. Peyton Hillis did something heroic. Most fathers would just say he did his job. He saved his children from drowning, but he is in critical condition in his own right. He's a very strong man, and I'm betting on him getting better too. So prayers out to the Hillis family during this difficult time. You are in our thoughts here at the show as well. Everyone, thank you for watching our show, and look for that NFL franchise episode. We look forward to bringing that to you in the near future. Enjoy the games, and happy Week 18.
Browns #1.
Oh, yeah, Brett's rooting for the Jets and the Browns. Anybody that has to root for those two teams together, if your team loses, God bless. We are out.